Full disclosure, before I get into the specifics of what I'm talking about, for those of you who don't know already, um, I made a video about John Morant probably about 2 or 3 months ago at this point. It's been a long time. Um, it would have been probably around late March that I made this video about the first time he was shown on social media or on the internet or whatever. Flashing a gun at a nightclub and just doing stupid stuff. And he met with the commissioner of the NBA, and he basically told him that he was going to figure it out. He went into some correction program. He was only suspended for like 6 games or something. It might not even have been that many. It was not very many games. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was not very many. People thought he should have been suspended longer. Yeah, it was one of those things where apparently, obviously he was shown on Instagram, or maybe not Instagram, but social media, flashing a gun, and then it came out that he had threatened a minor with his gun, and he was at a strip club and a nightclub doing stupid stuff and had a gun as well. So yeah, it was a whole mess. So he got suspended for that, went to correction program, and before I got sick over the last few weeks, 3 weeks ago, when I was going to make a video about the first round of the NBA playoffs, um, I actually planned on doing a segment about Ja Morant at that point. And what I was going to say was that I was actually very proud of him. And the reason why was because, you could believe whatever you want to believe. But when I heard his press conference after the Grizzlies were eliminated in the first round of the postseason by the Lakers, which I figured would happen, he said that his off-court actions affected the locker room. And so he's taking responsibility for the Grizzlies not making out of the first round because he let his team down. Now, you can believe, and I can believe, everybody can believe that to be the case or not. I obviously don't believe that it's all Ja Morant's fault. Just like I don't believe that it's all Dylan Brooks' fault, or Desmond Bane's fault, or Triple J's fault, or Steven Adams' fault for being hurt. Like, I don't believe any of that to be true. I think that it's a combination of everything. I think the Lakers, quite frankly, at this point, just have more experience, and they match up talent-wise well with the Grizzlies. And I think that Ja's off-court stuff and Steven Adams being hurt and Dylan Brooks being a weirdo and crazy person and just being a strange character, distracting, the media and his teammates and all that stuff. Like, all that has to play a part, sure. But when Ja, who is supposedly supposed to be the leader of that franchise at this point, he's the best player on the team, so he's at the very least the leader on the court in terms of his play, even if he's not necessarily the quote-unquote locker room leader. The fact that he said that and recognized, hey, my off-court stuff played a part in the fact that we lost, and I'm taking responsibility for it, and I'm going to get this fixed moving forward. Like, that, to me, was noble, and I was proud of him for that. And again, I wish that I was able to make that video, because now you guys are just going to have to believe that that's what I was going to do, which if you can, you can believe me or you don't have to. I mean, it's up to you. I'm telling you the truth. Like, I truly was going to make that video because I never want anybody to fail. I might not like a particular player or their attitude or something like that, or I might not like decisions that they make, or I might not think they're all that good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I want them to fail, and I don't want Ja Morant to fail. I think that he is one of the most entertaining and marketable superstars that the NBA has right now, and it's great that he's playing for a small market and he's getting that much attention because a lot of small market teams don't have that, and I think that there should be more of that. So I don't want Ja Morant to fail. So when I saw the good things that he, yeah, they lost, and part of it was on him, and he took responsibility for not only his part, but he basically said it was all my fault, I was proud of him. But for those of you who do not know, Ja Morant was caught on social media with a gun again. And it was not even, or maybe just over, essentially 2 months removed from his first incident with a gun on social media. One of his buddies, I guess, taking an Instagram live video or whatever in the car, and they're jamming out to some music. And it's very brief. I saw the video. It's very brief. It doesn't get held on for very long, but it's very brief. But Ja Morant is very clearly holding a gun in his left hand, in this case, in his left hand in the passenger seat, and dancing and vibing to the music, whatever you want to say. And you just... I just shook my head, and I wished, much like I did a few months ago in that video, I wish that I could grab a hold of him and just tell him that I wish I had his ability to play basketball, or quite frankly, his ability to do anything in life. But unfortunately, God did not give me that. God gave me a bit of a gift of gab where I feel comfortable coming on here and speaking in coherent sentences most of the time, and being able to convey my thoughts in a way that's emotional and hopefully straightforward most of the time, and maybe, if I'm lucky, a little bit of entertainment goes along with it. But yeah, God gave me that, which I'm very grateful for, because it allows me to do this and other things in my life. But God did not give me the athleticism or the drive or the leaping ability or the strength or the shooting ability or the anything ability to be that good at basketball. And so I wish I could grab a hold of him and say, you have no idea what you are throwing away. And I know that people are going to say he has an idea of what he's throwing away. He knows that he's got this crazy, amazing career ahead of him that he's potentially flushing down the toilet. And my counterpoint to that would be, no, if he knew what he was throwing away, he wouldn't be doing stupid stuff. Now, we've seen a lot of athletes, quote unquote, throw their careers away, right? But here's the thing. Like the person that comes to mind to me is Josh Gordon in the NFL. Wide receiver who led the NFL in yards and touchdowns one year for the Browns, just dominated. He was going to be, the next big thing in the NFL. And he just kept getting in trouble for doing drugs and smoking weed and all this stuff. And he would go to rehab, and he would get cleared, and then he would relapse again, and he would get caught again, and he'd get suspended for a full year again, and then he'd be let back in, and it would just keep on happening. And yes, well, obviously there's a lot of personal responsibility that goes along with that. Addiction is addiction, and addiction is very difficult and completely almost undefinable in a lot of ways for people. Like, you can give people direction, you can give people a 12-step program, you can give people support and love and completely shut them off from all that stuff and give them all these distractions to keep their mind off it. You can do everything you can, but addiction is addiction, and every person has an individual battle with addiction when they go through it. Everybody has, in some way, shape, or form, some kind of addiction, whether they know it or not, including myself, that they deal with on a daily basis. Addiction is addiction. So unless you are going to argue to me that Ja Morant is addicted to having a gun in his hand, this is not the same thing. I at least have sympathy for people who are going through addiction. While I might call Josh Gordon, or anybody else might call Josh Gordon an idiot for throwing away the potential career that he would have had, at least I have sympathy for the fact that he was truly knee-deep in a terrible addiction that got the best of him. And I can at least have sympathy for that. I have no sympathy for Ja Morant right now. Now, to be fair to Ja, I don't know what's going on in his life. I don't know what he's dealing with. I don't know the kind of people that he or his family is involved with. I don't know the full story, nor should I. But On the surface, when you take what has happened, when you dive into it a little bit, the mistakes that he made were having a gun and threatening a teenager with a gun and doing dumb stuff at a nightclub and a strip club. And then after he was punished, called out, suspended, knocked out of the first round of the playoffs, let all his teammates down, came out in public and said that he let his teammates down, and offered an apology, offered the fact that he's going to grow, he's going to change, he's going to adapt, he's going to whatever. Not 2 years, not 2 decades, 2 months go by. And you do the exact same thing that you got in trouble for 2 months ago. That you sat in front of the commissioner of basketball, essentially your big boss, who said, "What are you doing? Do you have any idea what you're going to do to your brand and to our brand? Like, you're throwing this away, and you are so young and talented and smart. Like, we don't want that to happen to you, and so we need to get this figured out." And Ja basically looked at him and said, "You got it, man. I'm going to get it figured out. I'm going to change. And 2 months goes by and you do the same thing? No, I have no sympathy for that. I can't possibly have any sympathy for that. Now, for me to sit here and say I've never made mistakes, it's lies. Of course I have. I made millions of them, and I'll make millions more. But what I generally believe that I don't do is make the same mistake twice. If I make a mistake about something, I'm going to get it fixed. And if I do happen to make the same mistake twice, boy, let me tell you, I'll never make it 3 times. That I'm fully confident in. I am not going to make the same mistake 3 times in a row without changing around something I'm doing. And generally, I'm going to change it after the first time. So, I'm willing to sit here and say that the first time was a mistake. Or at least I was. I was willing to sit here and say that the first time that all that happened was being young and dumb, not understanding the opportunity you have. You get punished. You get put in a correction program. And yet you do it a second time after all that scrutiny, the amount of people that said that you let them down, the fact that your team, according to you, not according to me, because again, I don't believe that that was the only reason, but according to you, the reason your team lost was because of your off the court antics and your off the court distraction. Let the team down. According to Ja Morant himself, said it. And yet after all that, you're still doing the same stupid stuff. No, I don't have any sympathy for that. So here's what I'll say now. Because now it's about, where do we go from here? Where does Ja go from here? What does the NBA do? And the sad thing is, especially for Memphis Grizzlies fans, he's going to get suspended. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a full year. At this point, he got a slap on the wrist the first time. I thought that he was going to get suspended for the rest of the season. I really did. And that's what it felt like. So when he only got suspended for a few games, it was like, wow, they took it easy on him. Wow, they are banking on the fact that he's going to turn it around. That's what I felt like. Now, I could be wrong, obviously. I'm not in the room when that stuff happens. But that's what I felt. I felt like they are really saying, hey, we're trusting that you feel bad enough about it. We're not going to suspend you for the rest of the year. But now, I don't think NBA has a choice. I think he's going to be suspended for at least half of a season, if not a full season, and he may even be suspended indefinitely. And I know based on his first suspension, that probably sounds harsh, and I hope it's not that harsh because I love watching Ja Morant play when he is fully healthy and fully engaged. But, man, I mean, what else do you do? I mean, you heard, maybe you didn't, but I heard the commissioner's statement during, I think it was the draft lottery, or maybe it was just during an interview. I don't remember, but he basically said like he was completely ambushed and so disappointed that Ja had made the same mistake again. And when a commissioner says that, I feel like that's really bad news. So Ja Morant, I feel like, is going to get suspended for probably a full season. And that is a shame because, yeah, he's dealt with some injuries here and there in his career so far. And I've also said publicly on this podcast that it seems sometimes like the Grizzlies are better without Ja. Although this year they were not better without Ja, so he seems to be turning that area around. But for the Grizzlies and Grizzly fans, like not having Ja is really, really not going to be good for ticket sales, season ticket sales, jersey sales, merch sales, anything. And plus, they're just not going to be as good. And at this point, Ja Morant is throwing away not even the prime of his career because he's still so young. I'm hesitant to even call it his prime. Like, he's what, 22, 23 at this point still? Like, he's so young. He's younger than me. So, is he even in his prime yet? But, like, these are crucial development years for him, both emotionally, mentally, and physically. And he's throwing it away. And it's a shame. It's really, really a shame. Because despite all the criticism I've given Ja, I truly believe that when he is fully healthy, when he is fully engaged, and when he is playing at his best for a full season, I think that he genuinely, outside of Steph Curry, is the best point guard in basketball, or at the very least, he has the potential to be the best point guard in the league. And that is crazy to me at that young an age. He's up there. I mean, how many point guards played better than him this season on a per game basis? I don't know. Outside of Luka, who's considered a point guard now, I always look at him as a 2, but now he's more of a 1. So let's be honest. Maybe, maybe you throw Devin Booker in there because he runs the offense a lot. But outside of that, and Steph, obviously, who I mentioned earlier, like, who was better than Ja on a per game basis when he was healthy and out there? Not very many people. Like, he could have been first team All NBA this year if he'd stayed on the court and stayed healthy. So, despite all the criticism I give him, he is a top 10 basketball player in the league at his best. So, I want to see him succeed. I want to see him do well because it's fun. He's a lot of fun to watch, guys. In case you don't know, it's a trip. So, Ja Morant, I hope he figures it out. And part of me hopes that the suspension's not very long, and part of me hopes that it's a full year or indefinite because he needs to learn his lesson. And hopefully he'll become better because of all of this in the long run. Because at least hopefully, right? Someday he'll have a family. He'll have kids, grandkids. And I don't want anyone, especially his future family, to look at him as a guy who had it all and threw it all away.
Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby. So I really want this thing to grow and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.